That's good.
Welcome everyone to Season 3, Episode 97 of the Premier Pod. I'm your host, Yash Bika, joined by my co-host, Tyler Chan. In this episode, we'll quickly talk about some of the bigger topics in the Premier League. Obviously, the Tottenham-Manchester City matchup, Liverpool thrashing Leicester City, Manchester United skating away against West Bromwich Albion, and a couple other big topics there. But before we get into that, we got to discuss the kits we are wearing. So Tyler's got, I believe that was the 2018-2019 Liverpool jersey.
This is the season where Salah got the golden boot. I actually have him on my jersey. Yes.
Oh, nice. There we go. There we go.
I also use this for golf because it has a collar.
Hey, that's nice. It's got the little collar.
It works out.
And I'm rocking a Celta Vigo jersey, so right there. But yeah, those kind of jerseys. I got bright green. He's got, the normal Liverpool shade of red. But
for all the listeners, we got the video portion up. So
yes, I forgot to mention that. But before we really jump into the episode, we wanted to quickly give thanks. It is a week of thanks right now. Thanksgiving for all of our American listeners. We are recording this right now on a Tuesday, so not technically Thanksgiving today, but obviously when it is released, it'll be Thanksgiving. So we wanted to give a quick shout out to our international listeners first. A couple countries we want to just kind of highlight: Brazil, Hungary, UK, and Australia. Obviously, there's many more that are on this list, but these are some of these are the top 4 listeners for us outside of the US, which is crazy that we even have that people even want to tune into us that are outside of the US. So big shout out to you guys. First of all, I think that's really cool. I don't know about you, Tyler, but that's really cool.
I didn't even know we had listeners in all these countries.
Yeah,
like that was a big thing to see from our statistics when we were analyzing it, and also like close ones on top of this list too. Like we saw like other countries like Austria, Argentina. I was thinking, it's like, how did they find us? Yeah. It's like that's really cool to see. So shout out to everyone that's international.
Yeah,
that's like really big for us to know that we're global.
Yeah, no, it's awesome that someone takes the time out of their day, even on the international sense, to just listen to us. So we appreciate that. And then domestically, we wanted to give a quick shout out to all of our American listeners and wish them a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. But we wanted to specifically target 5 of our highest listener base within the United States. So obviously in our home state of Georgia, shout out to all our Georgia listeners. We have Virginia, California, Oregon, and Washington. It is really cool that we're kind of reaching all over the coast to coast when it comes to the US, all the way from the West Coast to the South to the East Coast. So big shout out to all of our American listeners. We really do appreciate all the support. And like we said, I really, really want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully everyone remains safe during these hard times right now.
Mm-hmm. So stay safe.
Yeah.
Thanks. And also hope you guys have some good food.
Yes. Get that grub in. Hopefully, obviously on Thanksgiving, there's usually NBA too with NFL, but it'll mostly be with the NFL because the NBA is not back yet. And then, we'll all be able to enjoy some Premier League this weekend as well, with hopefully with some leftovers if we still have some by then. We should all have some leftovers by the weekend, but hopefully. But
we're still cooking for like 12 people, but
yes,
just for 5 people to eat.
Exactly, with these times. But and also another quick shout out. We are close, or actually we've eclipsed over 3,000 all-time downloads. So that is another big milestone in the Premier Pod history. Pretty crazy when you kind of circle back and think about when we first started. It was, I literally started it in this exact same room, just opened up my laptop and fired away. And, maybe I got 4 listeners that were just family members or friends, but it's pretty cool. 2 years, basically 2.5 years down from, 2.5 years, trying to think back the time, how much it's progressed and how, in a lot of ways, how it's changed and the format of the show. But, it's really rewarding and really cool to see that, a lot of people, or even a small number of you guys that continuously tune in each week when we release an episode, because at the end of the day, it's just us talking about soccer, or Premier League specifically, what we love the most. So it is very cool that, you guys take the time to tune in and listen to what we have to say.
Mm-hmm. Over 3,000 downloads. That's insane.
Yeah.
There's over like 90 hours of our voice on the internet.
Just out there in the
people
ether.
Can just listen to straight. That's crazy.
I know you could. Oh gosh. I wonder how far. I'm trying to think. Yeah. That's literally almost like you could literally, I'm trying to think. You could literally drive from Georgia all the way to the West Coast and still have enough podcasts.
Some podcasts left over. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's pretty cool when you think about it. But yeah, we wanted to give a quick shout out to all of our fans around the world and the United States that have tuned in and listened to us throughout these years. So we wanted to give a quick shout out and thanks to you guys. But before we jump in really quickly, no international break till international friendlies or international break till March. So we basically got a straight couple of months just filled with Champions League, Europa League, domestic competitions, Premier League. I mean, all club football is back for a long time. So we're super happy. We're not going to be interrupted with any, weird friendlies, anything like that. So it's going to be fun. But the fixtures are going to come in thick and fast. But to start things off, we have to start off with kind of a broad topic, not one of the games, but Liverpool and Tottenham specifically, because they have shown in this really weird restarted Premier League season that they've kind of basically, we all thought the title race was going to be Liverpool City, but now it's essentially become Liverpool and Tottenham are the title contenders for this year. Liverpool obviously defending their title, and Tottenham are this new and up-and-coming team with Jose Mourinho that we thought going into the season was probably going to fight for 5th or 6th place or maybe 4th, but now have made themselves into title contenders. And just wanted to give a shout out to them because they have shown that they are the cream of the crop when it comes to consistency in the Premier League, I would say, this season.
I feel like in 2020, this has been their year. Because even in Project Restart, Jose Mourinho, they're good. And I was just like, is it just a Project Restart thing, or is they going to keep it going? And I feel like even at the start of this season, we weren't really seeing them hit the highs that they are right now. They're very like low key.
Yeah,
they've been cruising, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, how they get to the top all of a sudden? We've just been distracted seeing Everton up there, seeing Southampton get 5th, and
Aston Villa. Yeah,
Aston Villa up there undefeated at one point. We're thinking it's like, what's going on for this season? Like, we have no idea.
Leicester on our hands.
But Tottenham here out of nowhere just is like, oh, we're back. Yeah. And Jose Mourinho has just been
on a tear,
kind of changing the team. He has most of the same personnel from Pochettino, but the way they play is gotten a lot different. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we'll go into that once we hit the Man City Tottenham game. But for Liverpool too, they've been managing to truck on despite the hospital room that they do have.
Oh my gosh!
All the injuries, like Henderson's out.
All the bad luck that could happen is going through Liverpool right now, and they're somehow finding a way to just keep it steady, which is crazy. I just don't know how they're doing it.
Squad depth.
Yeah. Good coaching too. Having a good manager helps.
Because if one person's out, then it's a good management like system to train others to kind of like fill in for them. Like if say Trent's out, it's not the whole ship's not going to just sink.
Exactly.
They got Milner in there. They got Nico Williams in there. So I mean, over the international break, I got really nervous because at one point the entire back four was out.
Yeah.
And then like some of the front three were out. I was just like, what? Why international break? But we don't have an international break anymore, as just said, until March. So I'm very excited about that. Mm-hmm. Now I can just go straight Premier League, straight Champions League, European Cups. It'll be good.
Yeah, hopefully they can stay healthy. But yeah, I think what they've been doing is phenomenal, and we'll look in more in depth about what they're doing. But kind of circling back to Tottenham, their big game this past weekend was against Manchester City, beating them 2-0. It's a really good performance by Tottenham, a horrible performance by City, I would say. But to specifically target Tottenham, it is really fascinating for me. Is the player that I wanted to highlight is Hojbjerg for Tottenham. Obviously, he was the kind of the midfielder that we didn't really know what we were getting. He didn't really live up to it I guess, expectations or his potential at Bayern, got shipped out to Southampton. And it was kind of, there'd be certain performances we would see where he's like, okay, this guy could be pretty decent. And then it's like, it kind of looks bang average. But then when Tottenham bought him, we were kind of confused. I remember, I think literally when he bought him, we did a episode during like the whole transfer window stuff. And we were like, I don't know if this is a type of signing that really propels them to win a title or make some title contenders. It's kind of a weird signing, like Joe Hart-ish, where it's like, what are they doing here? But when you actually look at it, Hojbjerg started every game for Tottenham, and he's been like the holding midfielder. We thought Sissoko was going to be that. Eric Dyer's been in that role. Ndombele last season kind of was deployed there, but Jose Mourinho has targeted Hojbjerg and has literally transformed him to just be a box-to-box, solid defensive midfielder that's going to break up play, that is super tough, super strong to get off the ball. He's technical enough to link up play in terms of just getting the ball out to the other creative midfielders like Ndombele and such. So, I mean, this signing, and he wasn't even signed for that expensive. I think he was a really cheap bargain deal that Jose Mourinho bought him from Southampton. But I think it's another one of those masterclass signings that Mourinho seems to always do. Because I remember even at Manchester United, he, say what you want about Ander Herrera, but before Mourinho got there, Ander Herrera wasn't really a defensive midfielder. He was kind of like just a weird pseudo, maybe attacking midfielder and kind of like a box-to-box midfielder. But Mourinho really turned him into just basically being a defensive midfielder, and he did a pretty good job at that. And obviously helped develop Scott McTominay a little bit. But yeah, this signing has been out of this world good, and he's done wonders for Tottenham's side because now they have a lot of steel in that midfield that they didn't really have under Pochettino. It was more a flair rather than steel, and Mourinho has added steel with Hojbjerg. So I wanted to point him out as one of the key pieces in that Tottenham field that doesn't get a lot of love.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, for me at least, I was one of the doubters at the very beginning of the season. I was just like, Hojbjerg, come on, what?
Yeah, exactly.
But he kind of reminds me of when Mourinho kind of kept Nemanja Matic with him wherever he went. Yeah. Because he's kind of turned Hojbjerg into Matic, except Hojbjerg is a better passer. Yeah. So it's kind of like an upgraded one. Yes. And this has been like a very interesting signing because he really has been a part of like that defensive kind of structure in the in like the spine of that Tottenham midfield. Because before, as Yes was saying, no other player for that Tottenham side besides maybe Eric Dyer, who got shifted back to center back, was really that rock in the defense.
Yeah, and Eric Dyer is like
midfield.
Kind of like, he's off and on most of his career. He's never been consistently good at one position.
Off and on the field to the bathroom.
Exactly, and to the bathroom too.
Yes. So, I mean, I feel like Hojbjerg is just a very good system fit for Tottenham that we didn't even know that he was going to, like, Jose Mourinho was going to implement. And to kind of go on top of this whole system that we're going to talk about with Jose Mourinho, he's changed a lot of players and how they play in this formation because it's a 4-2-3-1, and he has Kane playing up top, of course. But if you've been watching recently, Kane drops deep. Yeah. He's behind the three midfielders behind him at times. And he moved Ndombele to the center attacking mid, where usually we would see Dele Alli. Yeah. And now Ndombele's playing there. The person we thought he's just gonna cast away. Just
that's been one of the cooler storylines too. Ndombele literally looks. I remember when Eric Krakauer was on the podcast last season, he was talking about how good of a player Ndombele is, and he was hoping that Mourinho would be able to get the best out of him. We didn't see that last season, but my gosh, he's literally been. He's just a really, really talented midfielder. You can see why he cost so much when Tottenham paid for him. But yeah, he's been really good right now, being deployed as like that center attacking mid, basically.
He really is one of those creative versions of like a Conte. Like N'Golo Conte is more, box to box, break up plays, things like that. Yeah. But I always thought of Ndombele as like the attacking version of Conte, where it kind of flips, where Conte sometimes goes on the attack, and then Ndombele sometimes goes on the offense, but they're just very mobile people, and they just are always at the right spot at the right time to kind of do. He's like a very mobile center attacking mid, if that makes sense. I feel like center attacking mids most of the time just kind of float around, Well, this one in the melee kind of like is like a little lightning bolt, just like everywhere.
Exactly.
But he kind of brings out the most, and especially in this last game, Heung-min Son is, I learned that's how you pronounce it. He's been going off with Kane. They have like this kind of Dragon Ball Z fusion connection where
I like
if
that.
you've been looking at their stats, their assists and goal ratio together is one of the top in like Premier League history.
Yeah.
Right now, they're like breaking records.
There was literally one game, I think it was against Southampton actually,
yes,
where Kane literally assisted Son 4 times, and Son scored 4 of the goals that Kane assisted for him, which you would think is crazy because it usually flip flop. But yeah, those two, I know you're about to speak about it, but like those two have just been on another level this season in terms of just
I don't
like
even
their
know
output.
how do you even stop that?
Yeah,
because Jose Mourinho has just basically changed the way you would see this Tottenham side, where before it was very, high press at times, very, very quick. But with Kane dropping back and then the 3 behind him going ahead, the defense gets confused. They don't know who to mark. They don't know who's going to make the runs ahead. And then sure enough, you see like Bergwijn running through the defense. You see Son. It's kind of like a little barrage of players running through. You don't know which hole is going to be the one that they try to penetrate through. And then Kane can just make any late runs or just find a pass, being that decoy, and then get the goal or set up someone else. So I didn't think Tottenham would become this kind of team.
Yeah,
Jose Mourinho literally has become a masterclass in a whole different way, because before he was very defensive, and I still feel like this team is still very defensive, because you see players all drop back into a back 5 with Hojbjerg becoming that 5th defender at times, and then maybe Sissoko or Harry Winks dropping back with him if whoever's in the lineup to also help with the defense and making like a back 6 at times. But in terms of the offense, this is a lot different from a typical Jose Mourinho side that we've seen before. It just looks like he's actually making the most out of the strengths of these players instead of just, pace.
I think, I think that's interesting, because I remember when he was at Manchester United, he always, whenever they played Tottenham, he would always talk about how much he loved like the Tottenham squad. Like he loved the center backs. He loved Kane and Son specifically. And now that he's actually has them as players, it's amazing seeing how he's making the most out of them. And I think with Son, I don't know, something feels different about him this year. He just seems a lot more, not aggressive, but it seems like when he's in front of goal, it's one of those things where he's kind of turned into Kane now, where it's like, I'm going to score. It just feels like one of those things where he's one-on-one, like he's not going to give up his chance to score. He's going to score. And he's kind of has that, he's almost developed that sort of striker mentality of, I'm going to find a way to score goals and get myself in the box and such. Because we've seen before that Son has been capable of this during previous seasons, but it was usually when Kane was hurt, when Son usually kind of rose to the occasion, was able to kind of step his game up. But now he's able to do it as good, even better with Kane in the lineup. So I don't know how he's been able to do it, but the advancement of Son has just been out of this world. And he basically wanted to throw this out here. I think he's basically turned Son into a top 5 Premier League player. He's basically up there with the De Bruyne's, the Salahs, and the Manes, I would say, because his stats speak for himself, but also just the way he plays is just phenomenal, world class.
I believe that too. I always have believed in the past few seasons, at least, that Son is a world-class player. I was really hoping like Liverpool do something crazy and just sign him, because like he's a very rare player to also have like a 2-footed, like no weak foot player, has skill moves, can get dribble, quick, clinical. Like he literally has everything. And there are even times when he had to step up into Kane's role when Kane's injured, and he does fulfill those shoes, and kind of changes the dynamic of Tottenham at times too, just on his own. But having those two, Kane and Son, I feel like right now even you can even throw Kane up there in top 5, because they're both just going off. Yeah. Like they've been consistent in the past few seasons too. It's not just a 1 season, 2 season thing. It's been like as long as they've been in the Premier League, they've just been going off. Yeah. So
I have to give my apologies, because I remember when Tottenham signed Mourinho, I was like, why are they signing Mourinho when they had Poch? And it's like Mourinho, I feel like it's kind of like, there were times last season before Project Restart where it almost looked like, he's kind of a finished manager, but this definitely shows that he still has it in him. And I think, he finally has the squad he needs to finally win a title. He didn't really have that at Manchester United. He didn't have a fully complete squad. He had great players, but didn't have a complete squad. At Tottenham now, it looks like he has that complete squad from goalkeeper to striker. So I think he's got a really good shot to winning the title. But the team, Manchester City, that I don't know, man. I said that they had a chance to win the Premier League. I think I called that they could win. They're going to win the Premier League this season, but they've looked so bad this season, especially in the Premier League. And I think one of the biggest things is I know we talked a little bit about this before the show, but their signings, they didn't exactly go out and get world-class players. They signed more low-key signings like Nathan Ake, Ruben Diaz, Ferran Torres, who they hope maybe would have turned in Hojbjerg status, where it's like, oh, it's like a hidden gem. But they ended up paying a lot of money for all three of those players. And besides Torres, Ake's been out injured. Ruben Diaz has been hit and miss at times. Those players really have not elevated them to getting them to where they want to be, which is consistently fighting for Premier League and Champions League places.
Mm-hmm. And this is a little concerning because Pep Guardiola just signed a new 2-year contract.
I know more. He has 2 more years to spend close to $500 million on a defense. Finally figured out a defense.
Exactly. And I mean, I believe I said this, and I'm going to stick by it. At the very beginning of the season, I was very confused about his transfers because I was thinking I saw the price tag for these players.
Especially Ake. Ake was like 40 million.
I roasted him. I was thinking, all right.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And, Chelsea could have got him on the cheap, and then they didn't. They didn't buy him back. And then instead, Man City paid more money and brought him in. I was still thinking, I mean, he was a part of a team that got relegated. Yeah. And I don't know if he was one of the focal points that really kind of helped Bournemouth become like a next level. But I mean, all these players were kind of mediocre. And when you come to Man City, it's not an automatic, oh, here's like a +3 rating in terms of like your overall status. Like you don't become a better player just going to Man City. It has to be like a part where you see certain players like Mars is already good. Bernardo Silva was already good. And then you bring them in, it's like, all right, they are actually good players. But, Ferran Torres, Ruben Diaz, we literally were talking, we don't even know who they are.
Yeah, it's weird. It feels like for the first time they actually went out and bought more project-esque style. Not Ruben Diaz, obviously, because you could even throw Ake in there because he's getting, close to hitting his prime. But Ferran Torres is more of a project player like Phil Foden, where he still needs time to develop into something, really good. Which is weird because usually when you think Man City, they're buying the complete player already and then, not really focusing on the project, which is crazy.
I will say, this, like, to add on top of the signings they brought in from this past summer transfer window, the other players that have been trying to step up into those new roles, like Gabriel Jesus being the main man up top, and then also Benjamin Mendy taking up left back, they haven't really fulfilled that world-class pedigree yet either. Yeah. I feel like Gabriel Jesus, against the smaller teams, yes, he has, gotten goals here and there, but when games are on his shoulders,
when you need him.
Like literally he doesn't have that Aguero-esque, like, oh, here's the game winner, boom. Like when Aguero's on the pitch, like he will not miss. Yeah. He will get the game winner. He'll do something world-class that'll make the difference in the game. He'll make a play. But for Gabriel Jesus, he just doesn't have that edge. He just doesn't have that finishing touch yet. He has potential still, in my opinion, but it's just not there yet. When you compare him and Aguero is just still, I feel like everyone hands down picks Aguero over Gabriel Jesus despite the situation, the age, and just a little bit fallout for him. But some players just have it. And then I just think Gabriel Jesus still doesn't have it yet. Yeah. And everyone's just expecting him to have it by now after so many seasons, I feel.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing. I remember there was always the argument of who would you rather have, Jesus or Rashford? Because at that time, Rashford was still considered like a striker. He's kind of, a striker left mid at this point. But really what I've seen is Rashford has performed well in a subpar average team and has really outperformed himself. Rather, while Jesus has been in a really, really good team throughout his Premier League tenure and has yet to kind of take that next leap, to kind of, that next development. Most of the goals he's kind of scoring are usually tap-ins and such and being in the right position, which is good. But I mean, we've talked about it before. We always have that episode every now and at the end is like Gabriel Jesus doesn't step up. And it's one of those seasons where he's not stepping up. And I think what's also interesting, we talk about with Liverpool, with leaders and Jose Mourinho bringing in leaders such as like Lloris and making leaders out of, the team they have. City, meanwhile, let go of a lot of their leaders like David Silva and company left the club 2 seasons ago. But David Silva has been killing it with Real Sociedad. Yeah, they're on top of the La Liga right now, and he's been amazing for them. And it still shows that he had the quality to still continue playing at a high level. And it just, it kind of doesn't make sense why, I don't know whether, David Silva just wanted to call it quits. Maybe it was just one of those things he wanted a fresh start somewhere else. But that's one of those, those leaders that have been at the club for a very long time, such as the Agueros, the Fernandinhos, and David Silva. And Fernandinho is getting older, might leave soon. Sergio Aguero obviously is getting older and has a bad injury record. So missing those leaders is a huge thing. And I think this Manchester City team really shows the importance of what having some of those older guys in the locker room that maybe a lot of fans may like roast a team for continuing to re-sign, but it kind of makes sense on a locker room level where you kind of need that leadership to keep them going and keep them motivated. I would say
like someone who can be a voice for everyone, just to get them pumped up.
Exactly.
And you see that not only in veteran players, but just certain players that have that quality, like De Ligt. For Ajax, he was the main leader. And
he was like 20,
as a 19-year-old. Yeah. So Juventus picking him up, that was big in my opinion, because they now have a leader for if they keep him for a generation. Yeah, it's like a Bruno Fernandes effect. And I think I know they have Kevin De Bruyne, who's a great player, but I don't know. I don't really see that leader. That sort of that captain leadership quality where you kind of need him, where he's going to like yell at you and really get in your face and get it, get the players going and stuff. I don't really see that, with Kevin De Bruyne, and they just haven't had that since Company left. Obviously, when he left the club, because that was one of their. You talk about one of the best Premier League captains / leaders. That's one of them. So it's not looking too good for City right now, and I don't know. I don't know how he's going to right the ship, but it's not looking too good right now. But quickly moving on to Liverpool and the Leicester City game. Liverpool beating Leicester 3-0. Man, it's one of those things where it's always weird because every time we seem to praise Brendan Rodgers and really point the question about, is he ready for the next big step? He kind of has a result like this where he just kind of gets outclassed or his tactics kind of fail him. And once again, his tactics failed him. He kind of sat back in this game instead of trying to go for it. And Liverpool, Klopp, Jota, they hit him. So, I mean, it's kind of amazing how Liverpool have continued to win games with the amount of injuries and, just suspensions that they've been dealing with. But that just shows how good and how well he coached this Liverpool side is with Klopp and just the management and everything. So, proper kudos to Liverpool for this one. I thought Leicester was going to give a little bit more of a fight.
Yeah, they didn't give one at all.
Especially since, Liverpool had a lot of significant injuries or players out, like Salah out with COVID. He tested positive, but he will be coming back soon. Hopefully he's healthy. And then, Trent Alexander-Arnold's out, Henderson's out. And, certain players are coming back, such as Keita, but he also got injured from this game. And Robertson was actually out from a small injury after Scotland managed to qualify for the Euros next season. So this is the first time in 22 years that they're qualifying for a big competition. And Robertson out there making it big and helping them out. But yeah, the new sauce right there. Oh yeah, Mixed Sauce is also on the team. I forgot about that. Forgot he's Scottish. But that's also big for Scotland. So like a lot of big things happening over international break, but also some injuries too, with Joe Gomez out from a significant injury too. So this Liverpool side, it was a little decimated from injury, but with those players coming back, Fabinho also is back and Alisson is back. it made Liverpool a lot stronger than I was anticipating, because a lot of people were thinking this game, a lot of the starting 11 would be the backup players like Minamino, Shaqiri, Reece Williams, all those academy products just making it to the bench because we're just running out of people to play. But luckily we had enough to come back. James Milner, of course, the Swiss Army knife of the team, slotted back into right back and got 3-0 against Leicester. We got some help from Johnny Evans at the very beginning, but
own goal from the former United player.
But I'm very glad to see that with Klopp as a manager, he is very good at making sure every player is able to kind of cope and kind of play this particular role in the system he has, rather than be so heavily reliant on, like, say, like a Crystal Palace side, where it's like, if Zaha's out, we're screwed.
Yeah.
But with Liverpool, if there's like a little gear in the machine that's out, you can just put another gear in that place and then you'll be good to go. You see Diogo Jota going into the side for Salah and scoring a very hard goal, in my opinion, that he made look easy. Just like a cross from Robertson, he just headed it in like a little glancing header off of his head, and then it just goes in perfectly. I was thinking, man, Diogo Jota, Klopp didn't know he was gonna be this good.
Yeah,
but I'm glad that Diogo Jota is gonna be on track to even break records for Liverpool to maybe get the most goals in his first few opening games, because now he already broke the record for, I believe, scoring in his first 4 home games, which is even crazy to say. So who would have thought Diogo Jota, and also scoring the 10,000th goal for Liverpool.
Yeah, he's hitting a lot of milestones.
And not only that, another player, Firmino, he finally scores. He finally scored in this game. He hit the post. He missed a few easy chances that were looking like they're going to go in, but it looked like everything was against him. He finally scored in a corner. Leicester is a little weak on the set pieces, and that kind of was their downfall for this game. And also on top of just certain injuries to like Wilfred Ndidi still, and certain players like that. But I think for this side, it was really good to see Liverpool finally kind of not bounce back, but just look like they can still ride the ship without all these players, and then just have all these other players step up in their place, like Keita and Curtis Jones actually for this game too. So that was really big to see.
Yeah, no, I think it was really cool, and I don't have much to say, because I think it's just it goes down to having a good manager, having good club structure where you have a board and stuff that clearly defined on their message, and you have a manager that knows how to make the most out of the players he has. So it's just another good example of just what good coaching and stuff can kind of take you.
I'm still nervous though about the Premier League title run with Liverpool, because we are still missing Big Van Dijk.
Yeah,
he's gonna be out for the entire season. I don't know if we have enough to consistently make it through the season still, in my opinion.
They might have to dip into the market in January and try to find someone.
I think so. I feel like that'd be the smart move. But
they are at this rate, they're just going to drop like their entire starting 11 with the amount of injuries they've been hit with.
Tend to not buy players in January, so I don't think it's going to happen. But with Man City not really kind of being the main contender, the main rival for this title race, they're not completely out yet, in my opinion. But I think Tottenham now are that main rival for that title, and
they're not getting. They're lucky. They're not. They haven't been hit with this single injury. I don't think they've been very lucky.
A significant one, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been very lucky in terms of keeping their whole 11 pretty good, and that's what you need to win a title. You need luck on your side, the injury bug to not hit your squad.
Exactly.
So
we'll just see based on injuries, or I would say lack thereof, will determine, I think, who wins the title this season, because it really still is up in the air. But it is looking good for both Liverpool and Tottenham, actually. Yeah,
you guys are lucky. But moving on to Manchester United real quickly, they played West Bromwich Albion, 1-0. It was not a very good game. All the United players and even the manager admitted that it was not one of those good games to watch. It was very off the flow. They just did not look very good. They got lucky with the penalty. Bruno Fernandes was able to convert it after missing the first one, but Sam Johnston was completely, very clearly off his line on that one. So obviously they had to retake it. He slots it in. They win 1-0. The biggest thing for me is when I was watching it, Anthony Martial this season has not been, there's been a lot of United players this season that have not performed super well, but Martial in particular has not looked the sharpest and has not looked the best. I don't, there's been certain instances, maybe in the Champions League, where he's looked pretty good, but when it comes to the Premier League, he's just been kind of, I don't know if what the right word is, just a little bit absent. And I think, he is the number 9 striker, and like maybe that pressure of being the number 1 striker at Manchester United is maybe getting to him a little bit. So I would like for United to kind of run Cavani more up top and have Martial just play a front three of Cavani, Rashford, and Martial or something like that. Because I think Martial really benefits from having someone next to him or someone that can at least take off the scoring pressure. If that's a good word to say, because I think that kind of allows him to kind of drift into wide spaces and kind of just do the things he's good at, which is creating chances. And, he is capable of scoring some really great goals. And I think when he gets a cut in on his right foot and such. So personally, I would just like to see United maybe run with Edison Cavani a little bit more up top. That way you can give Martial a little bit of break, and then maybe that can help free him up and create more when it comes to future games. So that was kind of my biggest takeaway from this game. It was not a very good game to watch.
Dude, Sam Johnston was literally
the former United keeper helping us out.
I was literally thinking, I was like, if anything, he was trying to make sure United don't get anything because he was on fire that game.
Yeah.
Besides the penalty, which he saved like the first one, but clearly he hopped off the line way too early. And then the second one is just sad to see. Second attempt, Bruno Fernandes was just like, we're not letting that happen again. So I think the refs for this game was a little, I don't want to say favoring United, but it just looked like West Brom were just so unlucky. Like everything for them just didn't go their way. Mm-hmm. It was just looks like everything just could have gone wrong for them, or any call that was a little 50-50 did not go their way.
Yeah.
But I mean, West Brom, they managed to keep in this game on the back of Sam Johnston. And then on top of that, I think, Martial, he did get his chances. He did get some, but it's just, they weren't, it was like Gabriel Jesus-esque where it just wasn't clinical.
Yeah.
There were savable shots. Like, they got to be shots where there's no way anyone's saving it, or it's just like so unexpected or so like fast or strong or so much bend, but it's just a little harder for the keeper to really save. I'm really wondering though, what if United tried a different formation? Like, let's say you have Edison Cavani and Martial playing up top and then Rashford on the wing. Like something like a 4-2-2-2. Yeah. Or
like a 4-4-2 or something like that. Or
something like that. Because right now they always have, the 3 midfielders and then the 1 striker up top, just kind of running solo.
Yeah, I mean, they've done that in the past, and I think usually what they tend to run is especially this season and last season, obviously with Solskjaer, is that they try to have 3 midfielders in at all time. Like they like having the 2 holding midfielders and then having 1 attacking midfielder and then having your front 3 right there. And they have played with a front 2 at times with Rashford and Martial. Usually when they do like sort of like that back 3 and turns into a back 5 when they need to defend against super big teams. So that is a possibility, and they did a little bit of that in the Champions League game today when they won. But it was in spurts. It wasn't a consistent type of lineup or formation. It was more of like every now and again we do it. I think they could, but I just don't know if they have enough quality defensively in terms of like their midfielders and kind of like the back line to get away with you doing that formation, I would say, against bigger opposition. Because as we've seen, the team has the biggest thing is that I would say is they're just the lack of like that really dominant holding midfielder. They don't really have that. They have Fred and McTominay and Matic, who it's weird because they all 3 do something very good, but they're not perfect. Matic, I think, is the best in terms of spraying the ball out, reading the game, and intercepting, but he's not mobile enough. Fred, I would say, is the best at being mobile and, really, intercepting the ball, kind of like that Conte-esque role, but he's kind of his, I would say, his passing and his kind of like a composure, I would say, is lacking. He's not the most composed player. And then McTominay kind of provides that steal in terms of that height and that strength, but his passing is not the best. He doesn't have the best vision. And it's same thing with Fred. He's not the most composed. So it's really funny because all three of our holding midfielders kind of, if they were all combined, they'd be the perfect midfielder, but they're not. And that's the thing. And other top teams such as Liverpool with Fabinho, Tottenham with Hojbjerg, they kind of have that perfect holding midfielder to just kind of keep things glued together. And United don't really have the perfect one. So I think that's what's hurting them the most, because they don't, you can see that Solskjaer doesn't have the complete trust to just throw one of those guys in there and just tell them to like do the job. He needs at least like two or something like that. So I think that's the biggest thing that's holding United back from being like a super attacking side. But, that's just my opinion on United's
I can
attack.
see that.
Yeah.
That's funny though, how you're thinking. It's like we have the perfect midfielder. It's just in three different people.
Yeah. It's just like,
if you put them all in the three.
Yeah. Can we just combine, get like a creative player going
fusion.
on? Yeah. we just need
Frankenstein them.
We just need it because it's just like they're all good, but they're all missing that one quality that would just take them to that that next level, and it's just unfortunate. It's just what the way the squad is, but I think as weird as it is, as bad as some of the results have gone for Manchester United, they're still in the running for top four. I mean, they all they need to do is pull together a couple of results, and they're back in the top four, which is wild. That just shows you how crazy this Premier League season. And to be honest, I don't think they're going to win the title, but they're not even that far off from the title race in terms of points. So it just kind of speaks to how crazy this Premier League season. It just shows that, the Premier League winner is probably going to be the 80-point mark, 85, 80-ish point mark, or maybe 90. I don't think we're going to get close to 100 this season because there have just been too much weird results going on in the Premier League this season. I will say
too much uncertainty, too many variables, just wild cards out there.
Exactly.
Who knows? Maybe aliens might pop up.
I know at this point.
Jeez. But I'm thinking it's going to be around the 80 mark too. Yeah. And for reference, last season, it was around upper 90s for Liverpool winning the title. So for this season, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 80s. And it's going to be a very close race just because of all this going on. But we'll see if United being in this top four race, because we're also going to have to see if, Solskjaer stays in. Because every week it's just kind of like it's just the hot seat. Yeah. So we'll know.
We'll see. But kind of moving on to a different team right now is Leeds. Leeds United versus Arsenal game finished 0-0. But interesting enough with this Arsenal side, I will say, I will say this for Leeds really quickly. As much praise as we give them as being like this fun side, they're not doing the best in terms of picking up points. If you look at their position at the table, they're not in a very favorable position, I would say. They're still a very fun team to like. Don't get me wrong, they're super fun team to watch, but defensively, kind of hit and miss. And the fact that they're so stuck on the system of like really intense pressure of like high pressing and going forward, it leaves them very, very vulnerable on the counterattack. And we've seen a lot of teams pick them off. Like Fulham put 3 behind them. Like Fulham is a pretty bad team in the Premier League this season, and Fulham put 3 past Leeds. So just keep a watch out for Leeds, because as much the way we talk about it makes it seem like they're in the race to win the title. They are not in that, that upper echelon. Like they're still struggling like a newly promoted side, but they are fun to watch. But I wanted to quickly mention Arsenal, because after that win they picked up at Old Trafford against Manchester United, they have actually gone winless in the Premier League. They have not won. They've lost a couple. They've drawn some. And there was recently a bust up in training with David Luiz and Dani Ceballos, where apparently David Luiz got a bloody nose from Ceballos. And Willian took a impromptu vacation to Dubai during the international break, which he did not tell anyone. And apparently it did not go well with Arteta, but it just kind of looking on the outside of that. But in the game, Nicola Pepe, he headbutted a Leeds United defender and got sent off with a red card. And it just kind of left me thinking, I think Arsenal in general are just further away from being back than what we thought. We thought after that Manchester United win that, okay, they're back, they're ready to go for it. And I think these past couple of weeks have kind of brought them back to reality of it's still a big project. And I think Arteta has a lot to do before we can really like evaluate how successful this project is right now.
It's a little rough for me too, because I was very hyped
we're both
on Arsenal.
high on them. We're both high.
Yeah. But since that game against Manchester United, Arsenal have not scored a goal from open play.
That's ridiculous.
It's leave over 7 or 8 hours of gameplay.
Man.
And to put in perspective, one game is 90 minutes. So whatever 8 hours divided by 90 is.
That's crazy.
Quick maths. It's about like 5 or 6 games. But like,
yeah, Aubameyang scored. He has not scored. Like even before that goal against United, he was struggling for, scoring goals, and he's just not being fed the proper amount to actually score.
Mm-hmm. And I've been seeing a lot of comments from Arsenal fans just saying they just don't look up for it. The Arsenal players, the only player that I would say the fans have really been raving about is Kieran Tierney. The only player that really looks like he's trying for the team and that looked disappointed to not get a result or the 3 points from this Leeds United game. Everyone else was just a little content, but not Kieran Tierney. Everyone else really didn't look like they're playing for the team. And, there are certain things about this formation, this 3-4-3, that is also a little bit of an issue too, where Aubameyang is always on the left wing. He's never that central striker anymore. And a lot of people are wondering...
They tried playing it as a central striker this game with Pepe on the right and then Willie on the left, but then Pepe gets set off.
Yes. So it's like even when they do have that, it just doesn't work. It's just Nicola Pepe. I mean, it got a little unlucky because it was a little bit of a flop, in my opinion, that Pepe headbutt, but I don't think he shouldn't have done it anyway. Pepe was already in the hot seat himself for not really producing as much as his transfer fee shows.
And Willian too. I know Willian was a free, but after that first couple games, he really has not assisted or scored in a while. But obviously Willian's much older, but that front three did not look very good. Has not performed very well this season.
There's a lot of debate whether this formation, this kind of tactic from Arteta, it's doing very well defensively. We see in this game also that they shut out that Leeds United squad that has been very prolific in scoring, but they're so concentrated on this defense. Can they really get much going in the offense? Because clearly there's like a disconnect. There's no connection between, all right, we have the ball now from defense.
What do we do?
Can we get forward and score? Can we do something with this? Not really. We haven't seen anything from that. So unless, someone like Kieran Tierney just comes up from defense and makes a play, we haven't seen Lacazette, Aubameyang, or, Pepe make any moves. They start other players like Willock for this game, but even then, there doesn't seem to be a clear player they need to bring, a clear thing they need to change at this point to make it look like they can kind of change their fortunes to start scoring from open play again, because that's insane. How do you not score from open play for that long? But a side like this with players like this, that's when you start to kind of question Arteta. It's like something's going off.
And I think a lot of credit has to be given to the fact that he's kind of shored up that defense, because one of the biggest problems with Arsenal was that they could score a lot of goals, but they couldn't defend anyone. But now it's the exact opposite, where they're defending amazing, but they can't score on anyone. And I think one of the interesting things is that Partey, obviously out of the squad right now, and El Neni didn't start. When those two start, you're not getting any like type of really that cutthroat creativity. They're more just like to break up play, And then, this game, it was Xhaka and Ceballos. But I will say this, Ceballos to me is just another glorified Ander Herrera at this point. Come on, you got to see it, because he flops a lot, Ceballos, and he's like one of those players that kind of gets in your face and just like tries to rile, get people rowdy. And he's decent attacking. I don't think he's really like world class when it comes to the attacking side, and he does a decent job defensively. So for me, and they're both Spanish, so I was just. I was thinking about it the other day when I was watching the game. I was just like, wow, he just really reminds you of like that Ander Herrera type, where like the fans love him, but he doesn't really like as much as the fans love him, he doesn't really perform with the same I guess, level of output you would expect for the amount of times like fans really adore him, And it was kind of the same way with United, where fans adored Ander Herrera, but his performances weren't really that good. So I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there. I think he's like Ander Herrera 2.0, Denis Ceballos is.
I really think he just hasn't had that good of a season compared to last season, where it looked a little promising last season, but just this season, something's not clicking right. Something is not moving in the right gear for him. So I think it is partially that. I don't know if it's him or the formation, the tactics, something, one of those three variables is the thing that's causing this Arsenal side to like be off. It's just something doesn't make sense. They have so many good players. It's just something isn't meshing well. And usually if you see something like that, that is the manager's job to fix that.
And I will say this, I did see this on Twitter in terms of like a heat map of, I guess, like a stats from Unai Emery's, it was last season, Unai Emery, and this season with Arteta. And when it comes to specifically Aubameyang, under Emery, the main goal was to feed Aubameyang as much as possible, and that kind of led into him scoring a little bit more and performing a little bit better. But in this system, it's more of like an all-around thing, so they're not as focused on just feeding him the ball whenever they can. And we've seen that kind of has affected Aubameyang, but it's crazy because you have a striker that's that good, but he just can't get any shots up right now. And whenever he does, it just doesn't look like they're going to go in. So, I could see why Arsenal fans, even when they were, whenever they got that win against Manchester United, they were still kind of hesitant about really saying if they're back. So I guess this is why. So we'll see. We'll see what Arteta does. I still have faith that he'll be able to turn this around, but it's not looking too good right now. He's really going to have to dig deep and look and try to figure out, because I don't think he can keep rolling with the same thing that he's been doing. So we'll see. I
mean, it's kind of like Pep Guardiola. They have this kind of similar system where it's very, possession based and very this one kind of formation that kind of works for them. But can he change? Because they both got to change at this point. Something's not clicking for both teams. So we're going to have to see how it goes from this holiday season, because a lot of things can happen with all these games popping up in the next month, where you got like 2 games in 1 week on several weeks. So there could be a lot of leapfrogging, a lot of dropping of points, a lot of people just coming up from the bottom half of the table to the top. So you don't know. This is going to be a crazy next few weeks. Going to be very busy, but I think it should be pretty fun though still.
Yeah, we'll see. We're excited, but to quickly, I guess, preview this coming weekend, obviously after Thanksgiving, we have a couple big games in the Premier League. To start things off, where you have Everton versus Leeds United. I think, I think this game will actually end up as a draw, 2-2, because Leeds are very good going forward. They're pretty poor defensively. Everton, meanwhile, they did get a win, but, having Richarlison is good, but I still think, I don't know. I still think there's something about the squad that sometimes I'm not like fully trustworthy on their their defensively. So I think this game will end up 2-2.
I'm actually going to agree with you, just the exact same scoreline, because that's literally the uncertainty between these two teams. They have potential to beat one another, but you don't know which team's going to do it. And both have frailties in the defense. Everton more, what's the word? Not prolific, but more obvious in Pickford.
Yeah.
So there will be goals this game, but that is the podcast curse. I feel like every single time we've said there will be goals,
and there's just nothing.
0-0.
Yeah.
So
0-0.
I think at least it will be right at the draw.
Yeah.
But it could be 0-0 or 2-2. I picked 2-2. I hope.
And then we have Arsenal versus Wolverhampton Wolves. This game's interesting because obviously Arsenal on that huge skid. Wolves, meanwhile, have been doing pretty well right now. They had picked up a 1-1 draw against Southampton just the other day. But, usually whenever a team is kind of scrutinized this much, especially a big team, they tend to bounce back, I would say, in a way. And because of that, I actually think they could beat Wolves, and I think they'll get a 1-0 win. I think something is in there. I still like the Arsenal squad, and I think being scrutinized this much, usually a team can kind of bounce back, especially a big team like this can kind of bounce back the next week and pick up something and pick up a result. So I'm going to go 1-0 Arsenal.
For this game, I've learned from the Arsenal fans that Arsenals tend to kind of disappoint sometimes. I have been on the high horse a lot for Arsenal this season, but they've also let me down. So I think for this game, I have to go against them because Wolves last week, they were missing Connor Cody. This is a player who's been their captain, their center back for every single minute of every game since they were back in the Premier League. And he was out because he came in contact with someone who had COVID. But I believe he should be back for this game. And I think that would make a big difference in making sure Arsenal continue that streak of not being able to score from open play. So I think Wolves could manage to get a 1-0 victory.
Okay, so we got 1-0, but just the opposite teams on who's going to win. And then finally, we have a really big matchup. Obviously, concerning the London clubs, we got Chelsea and Tottenham. Jose Mourinho returning to Stamford Bridge, be facing his former protege, Frank Lampard. However, I believe, didn't Lampard beat Tottenham last season before Project Restart, or was it during Project Restart he beat him?
Escaping me.
Yeah, it was one of the two, and I just remember it was kind of like this big controversy of like something happened. But obviously, Jose Mourinho coached Lampard for a while, especially during the heyday when he was at Chelsea. So this one will be interesting, and I think. I just think the way Tottenham are progressing right now, I think they win 2-1. I think, Lampard has got a young squad. They're doing really well. The defense is doing pretty good. They have good attacking players, but I think the experience, the steel of Tottenham, I think is just going to be too much for this young and up-and-coming Chelsea group. So I'm going to go 2-1 Tottenham.
And I also just double-checked, Yash. It is Chelsea has won both Premier League games last season.
Yeah, okay, so that's what it was. Yeah,
Tottenham. So it was a 2-0 and a 2-1. I think this is a little tricky because Tottenham right now are rolling. And
Chelsea are kind of rolling too, not going to lie.
They are rolling, but they also got a little lucky in the Champions League. I'm just too used to seeing Chelsea in the Europa League for some reason. But, against Rennes recently, Rennes could have beat them. Yeah. They just didn't have that clinical edge. And I feel like that is a little telling because I feel like if Chelsea are able to leak that many opportunities to their opponents, I feel like Tottenham are a lot better side in finishing, which is kind of weird to say. Yeah. But I actually think Tottenham do have that edge over Chelsea, even though Chelsea have that luckiness about them. But sometimes you do need a little bit of luck to win. And with me kind of combating these two aspects of these two teams, I'm going to say 2-2 draw.
Oh, okay. 2-2 draw.
Or actually, no. I'm going to say 1-1 draw.
Okay. 1-1. That's not bad. That's not bad. I'm going 2-1 Tottenham. He's got 1-1 draw. So hopefully we'll see some goals in that game for sure because it's a big matchup. But yeah, after that kind of just rounds up episode 97 for us. We want to thank everyone for listening to us, subscribing to us, and giving us feedback. We really do appreciate it because it was like we said when we were, throw a heart up there. Like we said, when we were going through and just looking at the stats and stuff, it was kind of mind boggling just thinking about where we started and seeing where we are now. And we want to continue growing. So we want to thank everyone for the support and just, listening whenever they can. I mean, that's all we could ask for. I know we always tend to ask, if you can rate, comment, subscribe, but at the end of the day, just click and play and just listen for a little bit. Just that means a lot. So we thank you for even taking the little time out of your day to just listen to us, especially during these hectic times. So we are thankful for those for the listeners, for you guys supporting us. So I know it's getting a little heartfelt right there, but it's all part of the process. But I don't know, Tyler, if you had any closing remarks before we end this episode.
Hopefully, this is more of a safety one, in my opinion. Yeah. But for at least all of our American listeners, hopefully everyone stays safe. This could be a little bit of a risky time for us because, Thanksgiving is a time for everyone to kind of get together and then kind of say hi to the rest of the family, kind of, be together as one. But this is going to be that one that 1 year, hopefully, that kind of everyone got to do their part and just stay on their own for this one. But hopefully, kind of like how we are right now with the podcast, just stay virtual and kind of spread your love, kind of spread your thanks to everyone that way, because we all know that everyone's still appreciating one another, just kind of safety for this season. So
yeah, important disclaimer right there. Just stay safe, especially to all our American listeners and around the world especially. But yeah, other than that, please check us out at The Premier Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Give us a follow on there, especially, and also on our YouTube page. We're doing more video podcasts just like this one. So hit subscribe on YouTube at The Premier Pod and give us a listen on there if you like. And yeah, that kind of wraps up season 3, episode 97 for us. Thank you guys so much for listening. Peace.